100-day mark of the Biden administration. What a ride it has been. This country has certainly seen better days. Policing has been vilified by Democrats, leading to more inner city crime. Our culture is race obsessed and frankly pretty miserable right now, for being honest. To his credit, Biden has done a lot, but not much of it has been good. More on that later in the show. Today, the president held a drive-in rally in Georgia to promote the American Families Plan that he laid out during his speech to Congress last night. The bill essentially offers free community college and child care, pre-K, to Americans. It's more socialism. Today's rally, similar to ones he's held during the campaign, about 300 cars. Pathetic, really, compared to a Trump crowd, even when Trump's not the president. And somehow today, the most powerful man in the world who's vaccinated and outside found himself getting in trouble again. Take a look.
Looking for my mask. I'm in trouble.
He's the president, I guess. Earlier in the day, Biden and the First Lady walking out to Marine One wearing their masks again outside against the CDC. And in a funny little moment, Biden pulls up a dandelion, actually a weed, from a White House lawn that's not looking too good, really. Gives the weed to Dr. Joe Biden. Maybe a staged moment. I don't know. So much is staged with this administration. Last night you had a crowd about 1/8 the size of normal in attendance because of COVID. An almost empty House floor. Everybody wearing masks, despite, of course, being vaccinated. Even a doctor on CNN last night admitted it was horrible messaging.
What happened today looked like it happened in late 2020, several months ago, before we had the vaccines. And I think it's going to perpetuate this narrative of what's in it for me? What's the purpose of getting vaccinated if nothing changes?
What is the purpose, by the way? Anybody figure that out yet? Par for the course for an administration that puts political correctness and virtue signaling over legitimate progress. Meanwhile, Biden's speech put just about everybody to sleep, including Ted Cruz, keeping his eyes open, trying to. The Nielsen ratings are in. 26.9 million tuned in to see Biden. Some numbers have it dramatically lower than that, but that's the Nielsen official number. Compare that to 47.7 million to see President Trump's first address in 2017. So a staggering decline in public interest. Make of that what you will. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert made a political statement last night. You might have missed it. She unrolled one of those tin-foil-looking blankets during the speech. It's the same kind of blanket that you see given to the thousands of illegal migrants currently being housed by the Biden administration in facilities like those in Donna, Texas, as that disaster continues on and on and on. As for the substance of the speech, selling America on a massive government was basically the substance. Probably the most un-American pitch we can think of. Biden spoke for 70 minutes, laid out $6 trillion in additional spending on top of the budget. Biden spoke emphatically about creating jobs. It's a great term, right? Everybody loves to hear about job creation. Everybody loves jobs. But define a job for a moment. To conservatives, jobs come from a free and open market where people start businesses and hire others based on a demand for a good or service. That's the free market. To Democrats, a job is something they create through the government. And then they steal more of your money through taxes to pay for it. Does that sound like a job to you? When Joe Biden dreams something up and then pays somebody to do it with your money? Is that really a job? Doesn't sound like much of a job to me. Big government is back. Biden spent most of the time last night talking about his government spending spree.
The American Jobs Plan is going to create millions of good-paying jobs. My American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America.
He said the word plan 33 times. They got a lot of plans. They're loving this huge government and all this tax revenue they want to bring in. We broke down the numbers for you. 1.9 trillion right there, the American Rescue Plan, 2.3 trillion on the American Jobs Plan, Rescue Plan already in implementation, by the way, 1.8 trillion for the new American Families Plan, grand total of $6 trillion in new spending. To put that in perspective, this is what $6 trillion looks like on paper. It's a lot of zeros. Million, billion, trillion. 6 trillion. 6 trillion we don't have, by the way. 6 trillion we are printing out. Nearly 2 years worth of tax revenue in this country on top of, like I said, our regular budget. So this $6 trillion is just in addition to what we already spend. 2 years in tax revenue. Additionally, Biden's been in office for not even 1/3 of 1 year. Does that sound sustainable? They love that word, right? Sustainable. He tried to sell this as an investment into the American people.
We the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government. You and I.
Oh, there's no creepier term than that. We the people are the government. No, Mr. Biden, we are the people. You are the government. You are the problem. That messaging is great. They love to say stuff like that because I think a lot of people just don't get it. And the left is so good at vilifying the wealthy and the corporations, telling us all that they're going to pay for everything. You won't have to pay for anything. Just those rich people making over $400,000. They're the worst, aren't they? The truth is, we're all going to pay for all this nonsense. All of us. And we already are. Wait until you see how much it costs to run your household next year with all of this inflation that's coming down the pipe right now. And it's going to be bad. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott pushed back on the Democrat plan in his response. But much more compelling to him talking the numbers and the money was Scott pushing back on the race-baiting narratives that are being vomited from this administration and from the left on a daily basis.
America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
That's a great point. Speech got better as it went along. That sentiment from Mr. Scott drew all sorts of fun reaction from Democrats, including Al Sharpton.
And it was more bowing to the throne of Donald Trump. And I've met Tim Scott, talked to him. I think he's brighter than that and better than that. I think he really embarrassed himself last night.
Remember, if you're black in this country, you are a victim. You'll always be a victim. Don't try to get out of that situation. Just ask the government for help. That's what they want you to believe. How pathetic is that? NPR's Yamiche Alcindor chiming in. Senator Tim Scott, the only black Republican senator currently serving, she had to throw that in, says he has experienced discrimination, both by being stopped by police unfairly and by being called Uncle Tom and the N-word by liberals. America is not a racist country, he says. Here's more from Tim Scott.
I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege because a relative owned land generations before my time. Believe me, I know firsthand, our healing is not finished.
Democrats pounced on Scott for mentioning those racial moments, talking about progressives calling him the N-word. But they pounced on him because he didn't still claim to be a victim. That's what they really hate. And for Scott for maintaining that this country isn't racist. That's what really ticks him off. Meanwhile, some interesting results from a CNN poll about the speech last night. These are the percentage of respondents who had a very positive reaction to the speech. 51%. Notice, though, a very positive reaction. 57% said they had a very positive reaction to President Trump's first address to Congress. So Trump had more people watching, and people liked it more. Interesting. One person who seemed to love the speech was Chris Wallace over at Fox News.
You know, I think this is going to be a popular speech with the American public. After COVID, that people have come to have a different feeling about government. The majority of people are going to say, you know, the government's here and they're here to help you.
Yes, the government is here and they're here to help you. The party in power had locked you down for a year, refuses to now acknowledge that lockdowns really didn't work, by the way. They will never admit that, even though Florida, Texas, all the proof. Look at Michigan right now. Look at New York. Unreal. Now that party is taking advantage of an economy-crippling pandemic to convince typically self-reliant Americans that they really do need government in every aspect of their lives. Grow that government as big as you can get it. Have it control everything. Biden talked about crisis and opportunity in the very beginning of that speech. The real opportunity of this crisis was the political opportunity for Democrats, and they are loving life. And just because Chris Wallace may agree with this left-wing scheme does not mean that the rest of us do.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.